Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do all the funnest beer stuffs, usually here. And one of our favorite things is aged beer stuff. Yeah, old beer. Big fan. Big fan. Went to Beer Tube Palooza, and I pretty much straight up stole 2 beers while I was there from my buddy Joe. He used to do NAP beer reviews, but now he's a brewer. What beer? Brooklyn Monster Ale. 2012? Is that what this one is? Oh, 2011. Yeah. Listen, I thought I reviewed one of these. I know I'm almost positive I reviewed this beer before. When I type in Monster or I type in Brooklyn, I see nada of this beer. So I saw these and I'm like, Joe, I'm stealing this from you. I gotta review it. Why? Because it's old. 11 years old. It's got a rusty cap. Look at that thing. That thing's corroded and rusty and nasty. I was like, I gotta take it, dude. So we're gonna review this 11-year-old Brooklyn Monster Ale. Now, what is this? It says this Monster Ale was born in 2011. Barley wine style ale. I believe it's an American style barley wine. Let's see what it says up here. It says Brooklyn Monster Ale is brewed with a traditional barley wine style. It is made from 3 mashes of the finest British malt and aged in 4 months and achieving a burnished copper color and aroma of sherry hops, fruit in a soft, warming, complex palate. Excellent after dinner with dessert or aged cheeses or a cigar. Serve in a goblet, lightly chilled. Please visit us at the brewery. So yeah, what's the ABV on this thing? 10%, 10.1. So not super huge. So yeah, I've had this before, but it's been so long since I've had it. It was aged when I have it, but now it's even older. And I was like, I gotta take it, dude. I gotta take it. I actually thought he already left with Amanda, and it was there. I'm like, I'm taking it. He said, well, he's like, what happened to the other one? I'm like, I think somebody else took it. Wrong. I took that one too, and I didn't even realize it until I got home. So I took both of them. So there you go, Joe. I took both your Monster Ales. That's 2012. So 11 versus 12. Not as rusty as of a cap, but still rusty nonetheless. Is the ABV different on this one? 10.1. I highly doubt they're the same ABV. But we're going to do them both, because that's how we roll. Thanks, Joe. We'll hiss on that sucker. Okay. As far as barley wines go, that's pretty good as far as hisses, especially when they're 10 and 11 years old. See if there's any kind of variance on these suckers. Let's stop there. Put these on frame here and just show you what we got going on. I mean, they are virtually identical, except as you'd expect, over here on this side, at 2011, slightly darker, slightly denser. Definitely comes off as like a washed out kind of American barley wine as opposed to an English one. On camera, it probably just looks like turbid doo-doo water. When I'm looking through it with light coming from my light down there, as you see kind of on the bottom of the glass there, just a little bit less murky than you'd expect. But for pretty much all intents and purposes, they look almost identical. Almost the perfect double pour too. How about that sucker? See, that's pretty even. This one's a little less. So let's go 2011 on nose over here. Yeah, it's a traditional kind of aged American barley wine. The way it's coming off on our nose, slight little tannic tea vibes, soft, but not soft, relatively robust, caramelized brown sugar, leaning a little bit into like if you made a sugar daddy out of molasses kind of thing. It's not necessarily sugar daddy, but it's getting those kind of vibes. Not a ton of oxidation here, a little wet paper, nothing too crazy. Most of the age vibes here come from that kind of tannic tea-like kind of hops. Done and done. Let's dive into 2012. Very much the same. Pretty much the same. If anything, you're just a little bit more burnt brown sugar as opposed to that burnt brown sugar with molasses sugar daddy thing over here. So there definitely is a subtle variance on the nose. It's not a huge gap or a huge variance, but it's definitely there. Let's dive into 11. Cheers, y'all. It drinks almost exactly like it smells. with the exception of the hops being a little bit more present than you expect based on what you get off of that nose. I said it was like a tannic tea kind of vibe. It's a bit more bittering, a bit more of that old English kind of fugly kind of bittering to it. Nothing too crazy though. As I took that drink and I started talking, I started to get a little bit more kind of robust, kind of rich caramels off of it, which is quite nice. And it's kind of a weird beer because it kind of catches up. It's probably the best way I could claim it, because at first pop, you get this really nice kind of rich, almost softness in the mouthfeel. A bit of sweetness, some of that tannic tea, and then bang, this kind of washes away, becomes a bit thin. And you're like, okay, that was fun, but a little bit wanting. Now as I'm talking, it actually starts to build up, which is super duper cool, in a very roasty fashion. Really, really weird, in a very fun way. I've never had a beer really kind of make a comeback like this. And that the more I kind of talk and the more I kind of, everything evaporates and air's moving in and out of my mouth, it has this really kind of roasted maltiness to it. Not like, it's not smoky. It's very much roasted, almost like getting close to like coffee roast kind of vibe to it. When that kind of mixes with that perceptional kind of caramel kind of thing, it ends up being a really fun beer at the beginning, at the end. In the middle, it's kind of boring. It's a little thin, there's nothing there, but that way it kind of comes back and shows that kind of fun, roasty funness. I'm a fan. We're going to dive in the old 12 over here. Cheers, y'all. I'm going to have to sit here and just kind of talk and yammer and see how this one kind of comes back. Because it's almost a carbon copy of the 2011, just a little bit less. By less, I mean a little bit less. It's a little bit, less tannic, a little less caramelly, a little bit less, just skosh less mouthfeel maybe. That could just be it following that and the kind of weight of each sip having a little bit less impact. And it seems like it has a little bit less kind of carry, a little bit less kind of comeback on it. Not getting as big as those roasted kind of vibes that I did over this one over here. Not a bad beer by any stretch of imagination. It lacks that pickup on the back end, which is really the star of the show here, the beer. And while fun and tasty, you're like, okay, it's a nice old American barley wine. Probably a little bit more oxidation over here. Maybe that's the reason it's not as bold and rich. But this over here, let's see if it comes back on this one. Really is probably the best version of Monster I've had. I will be the first to admit, as a barley wine fanatic, not my favorite barley wine. Kind of iconic in a sense because it's Brooklyn, and it's just, this beer was always kind of one of those things where I saw it, I always kind of coveted it when I found it. Hence the reason why I just stole them directly off of Joe. It was never one that kind of was in those upper echelons for me. It was very much kind of like Fuller's Vintage Ale in that sense. And this is not me pooping on Fuller's Vintage Ale. I really do enjoy it for what it is. But when you hold up Fuller's Vintage Ale, which markets itself and kind of claims itself as on the same playing field as a Thomas Hardy, you know what I mean, as a JW's, it's not. It's a different experience altogether. It's almost like the experience you get from a true Doppelbock versus some of the lighter Doppelbocks that you tend to have. Like, you put an Eyinger or even a Stroganator or, any of those bigger kind of rich kind of Doppelbocks up against it, like Salvatore, Pollinator, something like that. It's two different beers, even though they're the same thing. That's kind of where this beer kind of lies for me. Even though I kind of think this beer is a little bit more of American barley wine than English barley wine, it kind of makes sense in that compartment that I'm placing it in. This is the best version. This one over here is the best version of that I've had. And this one does have that comeback on it. So it's nice. I think these are really fun beers. Look. If you're buying Deal with the Devil, those kind of beers, barrel-aged, this, that, huge barley wine, 20%, brewery stuff, it's not what you're going to get out of these beers. But for the shelf stability, the rust on the caps, which has me all kinds of, just look at that goddamn patina on that cap, man. People paid like hundreds of dollars. Look at that goddamn cap. People want their like hot rods to look like this. And it's coming from a beer cap, and actually the underside is quite clean, you know. But you're drinking history in a very fun way, and it's probably one of the more fun historically, I guess you'd say, kind of like beer nerdy kind of side by sides I've done in quite some time. So for that, Joe, I very much appreciate it. Let me feed these off you. Let's cut to the chase. Are these two of the better aged barley wines I've had as of late? No. Are these two of the more funner aged barley wines? Aged beers. Let's go there. I've had as late. Yes. Mercedes, I don't know. Up for debate. Sure. Maybe. I don't know. But it's fun. And it was a great experience. And that's kind of what beer's all about. Fun, great experiences. Like, you know, flavor is king, obviously. But if having a beer brings more to the table than just my monitor popped off. Need that for lighting. If it's bringing more than just beer to the table and taste at the table, I think that's, you know, I think that's a great thing. And that's what that said. So yeah, talk about it. Brooklyn. What is your experience with Brooklyn? Have you been to the brewery? I mean, if you live on the East Coast, you have to have experiences at Brooklyn. Tell me about them. Have you been to the brewery? Have you met Garrett? That would be fun. Have you had these vintages at any time? Have you had them recently? These are all things we want to know down there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying some kind of side by side. Oh, I almost forgot. I apologize for my tardiness. I'll just give it a quickie. Smells the same. Drinks the same. It's right in the middle. So there you go. Hopefully see you next time. Cheers, y'all.